So I initially wanted to choose a different path, which is I wanted to buy an existing RAL business that was already up and running and licensed and basically
Mhm.
just take it over and make it better and make it mine. I knew I wanted to do something a little bit on the higher end just because the economics work better.
Welcome to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast with your hosts, Charlie Cameron and Alex Schlau. This is your go-to show for cutting-edge insights from industry leaders in residential assisted living.
Whether you're ready to launch your own assisted living business or looking to invest in this fast-growing, high-impact sector, we are here to equip you with the tools, strategies, and confidence you need to succeed. Get ready to ride the silver tsunami and change the future of senior care. Now on to today's show.
Welcome back to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Cameron, and today we are thrilled to have Susann Quijada here joining us, one of our esteemed RAL Room members who is out there taking tons of action, doing the thing, overcoming every single challenge in her way. And Susann, I'm really excited to have you on today. It's been a long time coming.
Yes, I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's definitely my pleasure. So this is going to be a little bit different of an episode because Susann isn't operating just yet, but she is in the midst of heavy renovations. I would almost say new construction. She's basically adding a house to a house and with an SBA loan to open for residential assisted living outside of Houston, Texas. And she did it as a non-US citizen, which is interesting. And we'll get to why that created a challenge a little later on. But goodness, Susann, where should we begin with your story? Maybe how did RAL even come about?
Yeah, it's a question I get a lot, given that I do not have any relevant background in this industry, even remotely. So I always say I came for the business opportunity and I stayed for the heart and the purpose. I have a background in business. I spent over a decade in corporate tech and was just done with that and looking for what to do next because I still wanted to find something that I care about, and that helps me contribute financially. And I came across assisted living, senior care more broadly as a growing industry, of course, given macro trends that you talk about a lot in this podcast. It's a very attractive business, but so are a lot of businesses. And the reason I fell in love with it was because it is so deeply human. It is purpose driven and it allows you, while hopefully making good money at the end of the day, to do something impactful and leave an impact on the community.
I love that. We do talk about it a lot. And I just don't know of anything else where you can both kind of ride a wave, a demographic wave that's happening, have a successful cash flowing business that creates freedom for you and potentially generational wealth in the long run if you continue to scale, all while doing something super fulfilling and fulfilling a need for seniors, providing something that there isn't enough of, right?
Yeah.
It's the perfect combination. And that's why, like you said, when we found this and I didn't have a business background. I was an engineer, but I did a lot of real estate investing.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, this is cool. And there's money to be made, but there's nothing fulfilling about any of this.
Yeah.
Until we got to assisted living and we're like, bing, wow. Because everybody has that backstory, right? Everybody has seen loved ones in terrible situations, and me personally as well. And so you get, hey, there's a better way. And there's not enough of it. Oh my goodness. Like the combination's massive.
The opportunity is massive, but and I'm sure we'll get into this sooner rather than later. It's not easy. And
no,
part of the reason why there's not enough of it, probably.
Absolutely. Yes. There's certainly challenges to getting into this. We don't want anybody out there to think this is an easy thing. Yeah. But it can be worth it. That's what we talk about a lot. Like, there's going to be a lot of struggles, especially for the first one, especially going through all these hurdles for the first time. But once you have that first one, you're making that impact and you have that track record, then it gets easier to scale, which I think is super cool. But I think that's true for most businesses. So the whole business, talk to me a little bit more about your business background. That explains a little more as to why when I first showed you the RAL Room calculator, you went and made it 10 times better on your own. Tell me a little bit more about that background.
Yeah, sure. I did study business in undergrad in Germany and then spent about close to 4 years in management consulting, your typical death by Excel and PowerPoint. And so I basically grew up in Excel and PowerPoint, and I still enjoy playing around with it. And then I went to business school at Columbia and stayed in the United States and started working for Spotify and strategic partnerships and business development, and then stayed in that realm of the world for about a decade. I worked at Spotify, then Lemonade, which is an insurance startup for home and renters insurance, and then at Peloton.
Wow. Okay. I use 2 of 3 of those products. So can't say I've ever used Lemonade. I know. I do have the Peloton. Peloton came in handy during COVID, but still comes in handy for a quick workout. And Spotify,
wait, so which one do you not use?
Lemonade. Never tried it. Yeah.
You should. They have really good term life insurance, which is something that if you want an SBA loan, you're most likely going to have to get.
Gonna have to go get. Yeah. Which is an interesting twist we just learned about the other day, or I just learned about the other day, is that, hey, for sometimes for SBA loans, they may make you go get term insurance.
Yeah.
So that you're covered if you croak in the middle of your project. I get why that's a thing. I just didn't realize that it was before. So we're learning stuff every single day in the RAL Room, even though we've been around since August 24 now. It's surprising to even say. And you were one of our new and faithful members from the beginning. What caught your eye about the RAL Room? And then talk to us about how you decided upon the path that you're on now.
So regarding the RAL Room, I think I started to learn about this industry and this business model initially through social media. So once I found out about it, I started to follow some influencers in the space and watch all the YouTube videos and all the Instagrams and TikToks that I could find, and a lot of podcasts. And I was very aware of my lack of knowledge, and you don't know what you don't know. So I knew I needed resources and help, but I also wasn't really willing to, there's models where you give away equity, right? Or it's like a really expensive upfront cost. And I wasn't ready for either of those. And when I came across the RAL Room, it was the perfect mix of, I really thought you guys seemed legit and nice and down to earth. The pricing seemed more reasonable, and you really had the mix of community and finding like-minded people that are in similar stages to network with, and some resources to be able to learn, and never regretted the decision.
Love it. That's my favorite part, is like the community building. We're just continuing to make more friends, like that have the same mindset, that have the same goals. To me, that's the best part. Like just getting to know each other and to continue to support each other through our goals. We're going to see each other here in 2 weeks in Houston. Stoked for that. Stoked to see you again and to see your home in progress. So that's exciting. Our second ever RAL Room event, and it's going to be freaking epic. We have so much going on. It's going to be awesome.
I can't
wait.
So
does that tell us how you got your sight sets on your current home? Why you chose that path?
Yeah. So I initially wanted to choose a different path, which is I wanted to buy an existing RAL business that was already up and running and licensed, and basically just take it over and make it better and make it mine. But I just couldn't find quite what I was looking for. When you think about the buy box that I had, which was, I didn't want it to be too small. So I wanted to have at least 10, 12 bedrooms so that I can have at least a good chunk of the occupancy be private. That was important to me. I knew I wanted to do something a little bit on the higher end just because the economics work better. And I couldn't find anything at the right price. There was a property that I negotiated with for probably close to 6 months. It's still on the market. We still have RAL Room members right now looking into it. And when I couldn't find anything, I started to open up my mind a little bit more. And I went just down the path of, on the spectrum of, you could buy something that is super turnkey, right? As it like built and ready and new and fancy, or you could buy something that is maybe a bit of a turnaround, needs some renovations, isn't fully occupied, needs stabilization. And then I wasn't ready to go all the way to let me buy some land and develop, because it just felt too daunting. And I had never ever done something like that. So I was just, there's too many things I've never done to be figured out. So what I did was I was starting to look for properties that I could renovate, because that was in my mind the next step down from buying something existing that was a turnaround. I still wanted equity upside, and that's the reason why I couldn't land on the price with that existing property, and I didn't want to buy something that is just super turnkey and already stabilized. And so I started to look. I knew it was going to be in the northwest area of Houston, between where I'm located and live. Where I live and am located, it's closer to the city. There's not large enough lots for this kind of business, because these houses tend to get very big once you want to put 12 to 16 bedrooms in there.
Yeah.
So I knew I needed to go a little bit further out, and I looked in like the Katy, Cypress area, 30 to 45 minutes out away from where I live. And I came across this house, and it was one of those where you see it, and the moment I saw it, I could feel it was the right space. It has 2 acres, some beautiful old trees, some pecan trees, some oaks. You can hear the neighbors' chickens making noise. There's like cows 2 houses down. It's very calming and relaxing and close to nature, but it's still actually very central, like in a very urban area. You say outside of Houston, but for most people, that's still, you're never really leaving Houston.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when I found out that this was a subdivision that used to be an HOA, but the HOA restrictions expired outside of city limits, so ETJ, which means fewer zoning regulations to adhere to, it just all fell into place and made a lot of sense. And so I bought it.
Hey there, sorry to interrupt this episode, but I've got a question for you. Do you want to share in the wealth and incredible returns from the highest demand asset class in real estate without the hassle of doing it all yourself, or at least not yet? Residential assisted living is booming, and it's only gaining momentum. That's why we created an investment fund at Open Range Capital, so you can benefit without the heavy lifting. With the silver tsunami upon us, demand for assisted living is far outpacing supply, making this the can't miss opportunity for the next few decades. We provide access to fully vetted investment opportunities that are primed for success and ready to deliver strong passive returns. Don't wait, ride the wave with us. Visit theralroom.com/invest to partner with us on future investment opportunities. Again, that's the RALroom.com/invest. We look forward to connecting with you. Now back to the episode.
Everything started falling into place. You did your due diligence, and it turned out to be all the right things, checked all the right boxes for you to be able to go down the path of renovating to RAL. So when you saw this home, did you realize that you were going to add so much square footage? And talk to us about, hey, what's the existing and what's the add-on look like? Because it's massive.
I knew it, and I knew that it would be like, to your point, it's almost building a new house, but it's a good sweet spot where the current home is 2,000 square feet, and basically the entire existing home will become common spaces for the RAL. So only one of the bedrooms will remain a bedroom, and everything else becomes either office or a family sitting area. I don't have to touch the kitchen. The kitchen was already done beautifully and very open. And then to the existing 2,000 square feet, we're basically adding 2 wings of bedrooms and bathrooms and adding 14 bedrooms. So it's 7 and 7 on each side, pretty much, or maybe it's 9 and 5. It's 9 and 5. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm having 14 private bedrooms with either a private half or full bath.
Okay. 14 private bedrooms and what?
And I have 1 shared suite.
And 1 shared suite. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. To get you to 16 residents, which is the limit for residential in Texas. And
correct.
And we talk about this a lot in the RAL Room. People always ask, hey, how many residents? I really want to start smaller. And you could do that. You could start with 10. However, the staffing burden is really not that much higher. Mm-hmm. So between 10 and 16, depending on needs and like level of care, but generally it's not that much higher. So 16 makes a lot of sense under one roof, right? It's like why people like a quadplex versus a single family. You've got more units under one roof. And so 16 works. And if the home is big enough, which is definitely going to be big enough now, it will still feel like a home, which is perfect.
And that's actually one of the other things why I like the model of renovating, because you get forced into working with an existing residential home. And you can't get too carried away into making everything nice and big and open and new, because you have some existing structure to work with, and that forces you almost to maintain more of that home-like feeling.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point that we overlook when you're doing a ground-up development, because you get to just pick whatever you want. But in this case, you're forced to keep it home-like, which is awesome. We used an SBA loan for this. Actually, I believe you used a conventional, then flipped to SBA. Is that?
So I did seller.
Talk to me about how that structure worked.
Yeah. So the house was listed just on the regular single family home MLS, like here in Houston. The previous owner had already self-remodeled most of it. And so the asking price was a bit at the top end of what's feasible. I came to him, it was already on the market for a few months, and I said, hey, would you be open to doing a seller financing structure where I can offer you a higher purchase price, but we leave out the bank and you and I just do a deal? And he was a lawyer and luckily agreed to it.
That's awesome.
Which was amazing. So I got to buy it with 10% down, a lower interest rate, and very limited closing costs, because there was really no bank involved to be paid, 2%, 3%, 5% of whatever they want to charge you.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because a lot of people think seller financing is some unobtainium, right? It's like only for those Grant Cardones and those crazy investors who throw these wild deals together that have all this clout. No, it's not. Like anybody can do creative financing, which I think is so cool. The key is A, you have to ask, right?
Yeah.
And B, you have to be able to explain it. Usually, in this case, it sounds like they knew what was happening.
Yeah.
But if you can,
I don't think he was fully surprised. Yeah. Like in the sense that he had heard of it before, I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah. It's often good to recap those benefits for the seller, because why would the seller want seller financing? They could potentially get paid more over time, right? You could pay their price, but your terms. So it depends on what's important to them. Are the terms more important? Is the price more important? Is the cash they get in hand more important? And sometimes, especially the older population doesn't necessarily need all that cash in hand.
Yeah.
So if maybe they don't want to pay a bunch of taxes on a full sale. So if you do seller financing, it actually spreads their taxes out until it gets fully paid off. So there's a lot of advantages. It's mailbox money. It's passive. They can still take the property back if you fail to pay. You've already put 10% down, so they've got some equity in there. There's just a lot of benefits to it. We've done it as well. And we're actually forced to do it in this case, but it worked out just fine. We didn't have to get a bank involved. And like you said, you actually save a ton of money not getting a bank involved.
Yeah. And you can do it faster.
Yeah.
And everything else was still, I feel like sometimes people get scared off when you say creative financing, because it almost sounds, is it iffy? Is it legit? Is it really like the bank makes it more official almost? But we saw a title company that did the closing. Yeah. That's the part that makes it official, not having the bank in the mix.
100%. 100% true. And you can usually there are title companies out there that will service a loan. So we've got a title company that services our loan. That's a seller finance loan.
Yeah.
For just a servicer, it's not very expensive. And you get a statement just like you would a bank, because it's literally the same thing. It's a note, right? It's no different than the bank, except the seller is the bank in this case.
Yeah.
Man, I love that for you. Okay. All right. So talk to us about the bidding process and the design process, and how did you come up with what you came up with? And then how did that roll into the SBA financing?
Yeah. So that was a process. And for perspective, I bought the home at the end of May 2025, and I closed on the SBA loan March 19. So it took almost a year. Which was absolutely not what I had planned. The first big thing that happened was, because the closing was just a regular residential closing, there wasn't a ton of time. It was like 30-day closing window or 40. So I had contractors walk the property. And like I outlined my high level plan with adding those bedrooms and bathrooms and all the changes that need to be made to get like an initial estimates of what the renovation costs would be, to make sure that my whole business plan works out and everything can make sense as an overall deal. Then we closed because everything made sense on paper. The architect went to work, drew up the plans, and then we sent it out for bidding. And the bids came back double and triple of the original estimate. And that was obviously, that was a big challenge. And there was moments where between me and my husband, we were like, do we just sell the home again? What are we going to do? But I went back to the drawing board with the architect, and we made a bunch of compromises on the build out to lower the cost again. So initially, that shared bedroom, for example, that I now have, that is an existing bedroom, that was supposed to become like a big office and storage. So I took out 2 private suites from the architect plans and just made it a shared room. And we lowered the square footage. We made everything just a little bit smaller, and ultimately came to a price that was reasonable, not still above the initial estimates, obviously. I think the other thing, and that's not on the contractors, but more so on me, was that it was too high level to really know if everything's included that needed to be included. And there was like, between I have a septic system, I'm on a water well, I need a fire suppression system, obviously. And it's actually like a big, expensive tank that I need because I'm on a well, don't have access to public water. So there was a bunch of things also that were just not even included in the original estimate. And it's a little bit of this, like, you don't know what you don't know. But we made all of that work. So then once we had our formal bids and I had selected the contractor, I could go back to the SBA. I had already networked with several of the lenders. There's a few banks that we mention often, obviously, that are more specialized or have specialized teams for residential assisted living. And I also worked with a broker to get some term sheets once the numbers were all kind of finalized. And then we went ahead, selected a bank. Do I say the name?
Yeah, sure.
I chose Bank 59. They had a really responsive team throughout the process and really good rates and a good offer letter. And then we moved into permitting, because in order to close on your SBA loan, apart from all the big paperwork that the SBA needs from you, you also need to have all your permits ready.
Yep.
And then that also took a lot longer than anticipated because of the septic system.
Septic always gets you. That has bit me in the butt more times than I can count.
Yeah.
Okay. So with the SBA loan, did you decide to do a takeout on the home, or is it just paying for the renovation in the business?
So I refinanced the home into the SBA loan. Okay. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't have done it without refinancing, because they needed the collateral of the real estate. And also my seller note was only a 3-year term with then a balloon payment. And so now I'm already a year in. So I was like, there was no time to get an SBA loan on top of that and then refinance everything when it's done. Yeah. Yeah. I refinanced that into that.
Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. So you closed on the loan. This was like a month ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Talk to us about the whole foreign national craziness and what happened at the last minute.
Funny story. I was at a play date with my 5-year-old because they had no school for whatever, President's Day, I think. Or maybe, no, it must have been later. Anyways. And the mom and I got talking, and she's also just a green card holder, not a citizen. And they have a business, and then they were buying property to renovate as office space. And she was like, no, we can't get SBA because of this new regulation that is coming out that you have to be a citizen. And I was like, excuse me? I have not heard of this. and started to Google it. This was literally, I think, it was about 2 weeks before we were supposed to close. And then I called the bank and they were like, oh, we didn't know you were not a citizen. We had you down as a citizen because actually the SBA had removed the screening question for whether or not you are a citizen from their paperwork. So it never comes up in the paperwork.
That's strange.
I'm sure it comes up now that this new regulation is in effect, which it came into effect March 1st. But so at that point, they told me, so, okay, we have to go back. If you're not a citizen, we have to do like a USCIS immigration check. It's like a formal system ping that just says your immigration status is in good standing, but it takes a few days. And only when we get that back, we can reissue a new loan number. And only once you have a loan number issued before the deadline are you safe. And so we were doing the math of how long typically these processes take. And I think March 1st was on a Sunday. And given that deadline, I was expected to get the SBA loan number that Friday. If I didn't get it on Friday, I couldn't get the loan. So there was several days of panic. I will say it wasn't the end of the world or the end of for the deal because my husband is a citizen. I would have just had to go through with the lawyers through the paperwork of assigning all my interest in the business to him and make him the sole owner of all the businesses, of all the entities. So it would have only set us back by a few more weeks probably, but still it was a nightmare. But then luckily we got the ping back 4 days faster than anticipated. And then we had the loan number reissued a week before the deadline. But
I think half the RAL room was sweating it. Once we saw that, we were like, oh no, what's going to happen? And then I forget who took a screenshot when you said, I did it, it's over. And then sent it to all of us. We're like, woo, we're doing a happy dance, just celebrating because, oh my goodness. Talk about a last minute wrench in the plan. Goodness. So glad that happened for you. So you closed on the loan. Talk about, it's been a month. Where are you at in the renovation process now?
Yeah. So my contractor basically started demo 2 hours before we officially closed on the loan. So he was there. And that is not for the faint of heart. Like what these guys, I think he had a crew of 10, 12 guys within 3 days did to the house. It was a beautiful home that was renovated and then it got destroyed. So now, almost a month in, we're about to pour the foundation for the addition. So we have done all the demo, all the site work, the internal the framing of the existing structure is done because we were moving some walls, some doors, some toilets. All of that is done. We have the form survey was done on Monday. And right now we are a little bit delayed, almost a week, unfortunately, because of the weather. Houston has been super dry, and then we got pounded with rain over the last weekend, and everything is wet, so they can't compact the slab, like the soil, enough to pour just yet. They have to wait for it to dry more, which is unfortunate because there's not many moments in this construction where weather could play a role, but this is the one. And we got hit with it, but we should be ready to pour next week. So by the time you come, hopefully they will have started framing.
Awesome.
On the addition.
Sweet. What's the overall timeline look like for completion?
So the renovation should take about 5 months.
Okay.
5-6 months. Right now I'm planning for a grand opening September 5.
Okay. I expect to see my invite in the mail?
Yes, in the email.
Yeah, that's fine.
We're saving trees.
Yeah, let's not go crazy. All right. Yeah, we're not doing mail. Get out of here. Okay. So what are your plans between now and then to build out basically marketing, right? What is your lead generation campaign going to look like?
Yeah, I already had my website up before we even closed. Social channels are up, and I'm trying to post somewhat frequently and ramp that up a little bit, both like on the business channel and on my channel on Instagram, Facebook. And then a big part right now for me is focusing on the website and the SEO, search engine optimization, just to build out that visibility, since that takes a few months. Setting for Google to really believe you that you're legit. And the other big part on the marketing side is the networking with local referral partners. So whether that is hospice providers, other assisted livings, one of the many reasons why I like the location that I'm at is that there is a pretty sizable independent living community, like across the street, literally. Nice. And they're 55 plus, but they don't do assisted living. They have some home care there, but they, especially once you're going into memory care, which I don't think we've touched on this, but I'm doing memory care, Willis certified Alzheimer's. They have to refer out. And so I already met with them. I dropped off some goodies. I'm starting to, they said you should host like an event for our residents, which I will certainly do in the summer. So those are the main parts on the marketing front for now. And then I'm leaning heavily on my friend Claude for a lot of
Claude. Everybody switched to Claude in the last 2 weeks. I don't know what's up with it, but man, it's good. It's real good. I love that marketing plan. I love that the independent living's across the street and you're already networking with them. That's so key. By being present in the community and making yourself available as a great memory care option for those that need it. And that couldn't be any more perfect in terms of location and timing. And gosh, awesome. What about hiring? What are your kind of plans there and your staffing structure going to look like?
Yeah, that might be one of the biggest still like black boxes. I know the staffing structure I'm going for in the sense of how I plan to ramp up hiring. My plan is to, in the beginning, work with 1 or 2 agencies to be able to help with some of the initial kinks as you ramp up. And when there's only one caregiver you're relying on and when they don't show up, to find a quick replacements. But the idea will be that it's basically, once we're full-ish, around 14 residents, there will be 2 staff, 2 caregivers at all times, a third one during the day, and a chef. And then an administrator, obviously, and me.
Yeah. So you're going to hire an administrator to be the buffer between you and everything else?
Yes.
Okay. What do the rates look like in your area for an administrator?
For an administrator? So anywhere between 60, 70K a year. Okay. For somebody full-time who even be on call 24/7 instead of you.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good for you. We love that. Something we talk about a lot in the RAL Room is we're not trying to create another. Yes, it is work. It is going to be a job. It's not easy. We've alluded to all those things. I think you're getting a good sense from this episode that it's not easy. Okay.
Yeah.
But we do want you to hire a manager or an administrator. We want you to hire a chef. We want you to hire the right staff so that you continue to be the CEO of your business. Correct. And not a participant in the business, right? You are not an employee of your business. You're the owner of the business. You need to treat it like that, right? This is not the pizza shop where you're going to make the pizzas for the next 40 years. That's not what we want. That's not the goal. And that's often why we advise going bigger on a home, because it gives you more financial leverage to be able to make those decisions and make those key hires so that you, Susann, can focus on the growth of the business itself, whether that's just staying full and increasing occupancy, whether that's continuing to optimize your staff, whether that's providing even better services, or it's adding another home, right? So let's say I'm looking forward to the episode in 6 months from now so we can recap everything that happened, that timeline. What are your plans for the future after this home? Let's say everything goes exactly as planned. Is this it? Do you plan to scale? What are you thinking?
No, I'm thinking to build a little Kuna House empire.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think about it obviously in stages. The first thing, I definitely don't want it to be just this one home. And that is that's not the goal for anybody on the Kuna House side of things. The ideal would be, as a next step, to have a second home on the same lot, because I'm on 2 acres in unrestricted Texas Wild West, you can do that. There's nothing really preventing me from doing it, except for our friend, the septic systems. So what I'm starting to work on right now is just some space planning to see how big of a home and how much space do I have for a house and another septic system, because that drip field for a septic system is absurdly big. And then the ideal goal would be to have at least 5 homes in the midterm. I would love to also have my own home care agency that goes with the business. And then one day, Andrea and I sometimes joke, Andrea, she's another member of the RAL Room, also building here in Houston. If all goes well, maybe in 10 years or so, we will build the first dementia care village here in Houston.
Oh my
which
gosh.
is kind of a little bit dream of ours.
Yeah, like the ones we post articles about in where's that one? Sweden? The one that...
So there's one in the Netherlands, and I think in Norway, maybe. And then in Canada has one, and they're building the first US one, I think in Wisconsin.
Really? Oh, I'd love to see details about that. For everyone that's listening, these are like legit villages where people are the caregivers are also acting as like employees and also like citizens of the village. And so it's you
have like a coffee shop and a supermarket, and the people at the supermarket, the store associates, are actually caregivers, and people live in like shared homes. Yeah, it's a little mini town.
It's a dream come true. Man, I love that. I love that vision. Yes. Okay, let's do it. It's going to happen. We'll help you raise money for that one, I hope. Awesome. Okay, Susann, a little bit, maybe more advice for our listeners. This has been an interesting journey for you. You have never given up. You're on almost every call, which just for the people that are listening, like the people who show up to the calls are the ones that are getting stuff done. I'm just saying, the people who show up for themselves are the ones that accomplish the most in their lives and their business. And you absolutely resemble that. What advice would you give as something that you would have done differently or not done thus far on this journey?
So I think, just like you said, of course, if this is really what you want to, don't give up. It can all be figured out. I think in the beginning, I was a little bit more hesitant to, like I said, spend money on getting advice and unlocking resources. And I would now shy away less from that because it is so valuable. And you buy not only you're not only lowering the risk, but you're also buying time, the time that it would take you to figure out, or the time it takes you to make mistakes and then figure it out. So don't hesitate to invest a little bit into this. It will pay itself back. Like I was just talking about this. I recently hired Lisa Assini, who has been with the RAL Room a couple of times. And like, even just her first call, she came on and she was like, hey, you have 3 bedrooms with walk-in closets. You know, the seniors, especially if you're doing memory care, we don't like to do walk-in closets for them because it's another door in their room. They think it should lead somewhere. They get inside the closet and then they get confused and they're in a tiny space. But the closets are right next to your half baths. Use the room and turn it into a full bath. And then you have 3 rooms with full baths. You could charge more. And it just immediately paid herself back with that advice that I hadn't thought of. I don't know why, but in my head, it was either all full baths or all half baths or all non-baths. It didn't even occur to me to just say those 3 rooms that have enough space.
That's awesome.
Should have the bathroom.
Yeah, she's super smart. So is Jane. We have a lot of like just assisted living experts that have come talk to the RAL Room and give advice. And then the people that are doing it, like, we can just post there and go, what should I do in this exact scenario? And someone who's 3, 4, 5 steps ahead can say, here's what we did and why, and pull the room. And I just think it's such a good option to be able to get that advice versus I'm just going to figure it out on my own. Like,
exactly.
Yes. Can you? Absolutely. Could there be a more optimal way? Could you go faster? Could you get more support by putting yourself in a community like this? Absolutely. And I was convinced about a mastermind because of the War Room Mastermind, which I credit to achieving financial freedom, is being in a mastermind. So to me, it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
I think it's important. Of course, I'm biased, right? Because I run it, but I do think that people achieve more in masterminds than without because we had that community.
I totally agree. And for me, I'm solo, right? My husband has a full-time job that he's very much, we're not a couple working on this. It's me working on this. And so you guys are basically my colleagues. Like that's where I get that part of working is what I'm getting through the RAL Room. And I think that's the other piece of advice that I've come to realize is if you think, unless you're like dead set on doing this on your own, see if you can find a partner. There's so many reasons that a partner can be beneficial. One is obviously to have a second skill set, hopefully complementary, somebody to share the financial burden, because you're going to be spending money at something and you're going to have to spend it upfront at least, even if you maybe then get some of it back through the loan or whatnot. There's going to be costs at the beginning, especially, that you're going to have to just come out of pocket for. And then as you start to operate, if you want to go on vacation, how great is it if you have somebody else that then can take over? I see this with Jen and her partner now. I'm worried about that for myself because I don't know yet, especially during the first year, how we're going to do that, because we love to travel, but who's going to be there for a week or two? So a partner would be probably the one thing for me that I would do a little bit differently. And then the other piece is more urgency upfront in the beginning. Like part of why it took me a year to close on my SBA loan was that for the first few months, I thought this would all be faster, and therefore I was less in a rush.
Yeah.
Because had I known that it would be that, I could have probably shaved off a month in the summer last year.
That's okay. You're doing it. You're going to open this year. It's going to be great. And maybe the timing was perfect for everything, right? Maybe that seller wouldn't have considered seller financing if he'd come in a month earlier. Everything happens for a reason. I totally agree with you on partnerships. And it's not to say that Kuno House won't eventually get a partner, right? And need a partner to expand to 5 and to build the dementia village. So there's definitely in some point, that's probably going to happen for you. And we can talk about partnerships for a whole nother hour. Unfortunately, I only have a few minutes, so can't do that. But yes, partnerships are super important, but not something that should be rushed into. It's very important that you evaluate the partners you're going to be with. For me personally, I chose mine because they're better looking than me and have more talents, and they just bring me along for the ride, which is great for me.
Skills.
Yeah. I bring a few skills to the table. I'm the nerd, right? That's my role in the team, which I'm good with. I'm good with being the nerd. Okay, Susann, we do have to wrap it up, even though I love chatting with you and I love chatting about your journey. What, in your opinion, what do you think the future of assisted living really looks like over the next few years and trends that you're seeing?
I think it's going to be hit by innovation at a lot faster pace than it has over the last couple of decades. You see that very slowly the broader industries are starting to realize that the silver tsunami, as we like to call it, is happening, and it will not be coming on time, but there will be more attention, more focus, more money spent on this sector. And along with that, I think there will be more technology innovation, whether it's around just the management of the business and the care administration, or some things around safety, resident safety, and the cameras and the fall detection and the incontinence. All those things I think will become tech upgrades, which I'm really excited about. And I do think the other pieces, we're going to see a lot more specialization and differentiation come up. I think as this industry as the supply starts to go up again a little bit more, I think we'll see, and we've talked about this a little bit at the RAL Room too, there will be more that are focused on like diabetes or people that have liver issues and need dialysis, and maybe some that are more focused on certain ethnicities and cooking for that culture and living that culture or speaking that language. And I think that will be very interesting.
I hadn't considered that last part, but that is very interesting. That is very interesting. Yeah, cultural homes, or even
it comes up here in Houston. Like when you look at the Facebook groups every once in a while, where it's my Korean grandmother like doesn't want to eat chicken nuggets, like literally.
That's all my kids will eat, but
I think there's some cultures that are stronger than others with like food and daily habits, but I think that provides an opportunity. And then also what comes up more and more also here on the podcast, I've heard it, is this holistic wellness and bringing in alternative medicine. I'm super excited about like CBD and what that can do for memory care. I think there's a lot of interesting things that will make living longer, more pleasant.
And oh my gosh, yes, we could go into that. We've had a couple of really good episodes on holistic health, so go back and listen to those, because I do think that trend is happening, and I do think the technology trend is getting really exciting. I'm hopeful for the day when someone will combine all those tools into one set instead of there being like 5 different vendors right now. I hope somebody just buys them all and has one set of tools that are integrated. Maybe that's what we should do. Should we raise money and buy all those? I can't go down any more shiny object.
Oh God, I have shiny object syndrome
on this one. But Susann, if folks want to learn more about Kuno House, how should they do that?
The best places are either our website, kunohouse.com, and it's KUNO, which is named after my grandfather, and then house spelled the German way, because like you said in the beginning, I'm from Germany, so it's HAUS. And then on Instagram, it's kuno.house. Those are the two main places right now. And Facebook, same thing.
And just for reference, what night are you going to be serving schnitzel at the Hum?
Probably at least once a month.
No.
We are going to have for sure Oktoberfest.
Yes.
And there is this tradition that in Germany, like especially my grandparents always had coffee and cake Sundays at 4 p.m., like sharp. And I think they did it, honestly, they did it every day. But we went there on Sundays at 4. So that is something that I will definitely be implementing every week.
I love that. I want to come for Oktoberfest. Love that. Susann, thank you so much for your time. Absolutely loved this episode. And I know our listeners are going to just dig it. So your journey is amazing. Keep at it. Can't wait till we do our next episode to talk all about the full and operating Kuno House later this year.
Hopefully before the end of the year.
That's right. Before Christmas. It's going to happen.
Yes. Thank you so much. It was so great talking.
Thank you for tuning in to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. We hope you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a raving 5-star review. And a quick review helps more listeners find the show and more seniors get the exceptional care they deserve.
And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And just so you know, we have prepared some free resources for you to help you succeed in residential assisted living in addition to this podcast. Head over to theralroom.com, that is the RAL room.com, to download our free 10-step guide to launch your first or next residential assisted living home, or our 10 reasons to passively invest in residential assisted living ebooks.
And if you're ready to take the next step and make real moves in the RAL industry, join us in the RAL Room Mastermind. It is an exclusive community where we deep dive into everything you need to launch and grow your own residential assisted living business. You'll get access to recorded courses, live calls with industry experts, a RAL calculator, resources and tools, like-minded entrepreneurs, funding opportunities, and an expert networking community to help you along your journey.
Be sure to join us next time on the RAL Room podcast as we continue to explore the world of residential assisted living with more great guests. See you then.